Hi, in this video I'm going to discuss a common question that we get, which is what is the difference between WealthPoint and ResearchPoint and iWave, and which one should I use? And it's definitely up to each organization to really do the research, and they each have different features that may be more beneficial to your organization than others. There also are different costs that are associated. So I'll just kind of cover the high points in terms of the differences, but it really is up to each organization to kind of drill in and see which one may be a better fit for you. So ResearchPoint is a Blackbaud product. It is connected to Razor's Edge NXT through an integration. All of the information that is screened and run through ResearchPoint will automatically populate, or you can set it up to automatically populate on records inside of Razor's Edge. So in terms of that integration, direct integration, it's really beneficial. You can also, whenever you're on a record, there's some of it will display in terms of financial information that is publicly available, that it is found, gifts to other organizations, so you can easily go into ResearchPoint and dig some more just straight from a record inside of Razor's Edge. WealthPoint is basically the product inside of ResearchPoint that runs all the wealth screening information. So the things that come back in terms of assets and their net worth and their major gift capacity, all of that is run through WealthPoint. Typically, Razor's Edge subscriptions come with a certain number of screens. So if you get 2,500, you can create a query in Razor's Edge, go into WealthPoint, directly pull that query in, and run those screenings through WealthPoint. Once that has populated in WealthPoint, once that information has populated in ResearchPoint from WealthPoint, then you can push that information back into Razor's Edge, and it will automatically update their ratings and scores on all of those constituent records. So one of the main benefits with ResearchPoint and WealthPoint is really just the integration. And some of those screens do already come with your subscription. So if you are not currently using WealthPoint, I would definitely look into it. If you go into ResearchPoint, you should be able to create, the queries to run those names. But definitely take advantage of that information since it's many times part of your subscription. iWave is a completely different product, and it does, in my opinion, a lot more in some sense in terms of the information that it finds. So it is a really great prospect research tool because it's pulling in information from foundations, from corporations, from individuals. You can also query and find new potential prospects based on a myriad of different data points. So if you're looking for people who give to animal shelters in a certain area, you can pull that. You can pull alumni information, people that are alumni of a certain people that are an alumnus of a certain organization and also give to animal shelters. So there's a lot of really good prospect research information inside of there that you can drill into. It does not have a direct integration with Razor's Edge. However, you can use a product called Importacular to manually import those scores. So it is not too bad of a laborious process. You basically download all the information from iWave and then import it into Razor's Edge. You will have to determine though which pieces of information you want to put inside of Razor's Edge. So that's, I guess, one of the things to consider. That is not necessarily a downside of iWave, but it's just something to think about in terms of it will take time to pull down all the information and figure out which data pieces do we want to put into Razor's Edge and mapping those and importing the data. So that's one thing to think about in terms of using iWave. I know that iWave is pretty inexpensive, so it could definitely be used in conjunction with ResearchPoint. It's always good from a prospect research perspective to have more than one data source that you're using. And even though they all kind of search publicly available information, different ones do find different things. I'm not sure, how that works, but in the black box of, all the algorithms and data that they have access to, they sometimes do find different things. I have found iWave to be really beneficial in terms of finding corporate email addresses. So if you're trying to look for an email address for someone, it's really good at finding up-to-date and active business email addresses for individuals. So that's another really big benefit as well. So in a perfect world, I would say get both because then you kind of have two different methods to compare. It is a little bit more manual with iWave. iWave also does have a lot of capability to customize So if you're really looking for, I'm really trying to find, certain people that give in a certain giving range, who give to certain areas, who have different propensity scores. There's a lot of customization and flexibility, and you can really tailor those propensity and giving scores to your organization or even to a certain project or gift level. Versus in ResearchPoint, it's really just screening your data and giving you, a major gift score. I'm pretty sure that it's extra to pay for the modeled scores inside of ResearchPoint, whereas you can kind of create a quote-unquote modeled score in iWave where it will put people into different segments based on the criteria that you define. Excuse me. So there are benefits and downsides to each, but it really is just kind of looking at what matters most to your organization, what your budget is, and what capacity you may have to integrate that data. So if you don't really have someone that is good with importing or that knows how to import information from another software into Razor's Edge, then you may want to just stick with ResearchPoint since it is more integrated. There really isn't any manual importing of data that you have to do. So lots of things to consider, but PSG is always here to help. If you ever have any questions of how to kind of work through that process of selecting a vendor, please feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to help.